to another edition of Life Change TV. This episode, I have two fantastic guests to share with you to talk about their amazing journey. Firstly, we have Jay Martin, who is a personal trainer, and Rob Wood, who has lost an incredible amount of weight. These guys have worked together and they've really pushed through, facing mental boundaries that many people sort of give up on. So I wanted to really allow these two to share the story of the amazing journey that they've gone through. So guys, welcome and thank you so much for being on this episode of Life Change TV.
Thank you.
Thank you very kindly. It's good to be able to get a story out there that has become so dear to my heart now.
Awesome, Rob. So let's start there. Hey, tell us about your story. So how much weight have you lost and over what period of time?
It's been just over 12 months now, and I've gone from 186 kilo to I'm just on the 100 kilo at the moment. So I had gone to 98, but I've actually gone back to about around the 100 kilos, fluctuating between 100 and 98. So
how much would you say at this stage have you lost?
Well, at least 86 kilo.
That's amazing.
In just over 12 months.
That's amazing. So what point did you decide that, look, this needs to change? Had you tried diets before?
Yeah, I had tried diets before and failure. But I started to have a few slight health issues, getting ulcers on my legs because of the weight, bad circulation in my legs.
Yeah.
The doctor did tests on me and couldn't really find a lot wrong with my health apart from being morbidly obese. Now, he told me that I could probably keep going the way I was going, but he thought that my heart would give out before I turned 60. Now, I was about to turn 51 at the time when he told me this.
Wow.
And I sat down and went, 9 years? I have a little more than 9 years to give this place. So that was virtually where it all started, and it was time to change.
So it was really the health issue that was the sort of leverage that made you say, look, this is it, I need to change this?
In a way, yes. It was more like the 9 years. Like the health issue, well, I could deal with it, but when I was told only had sort of like 9 years to live, it's sort of like, no, I've really got more to give than 9 years to this life. So that was where it really made me bite the bullet and start doing something positive for a change.
That's amazing, Rob. So what did you do next? Because a lot of people try to lose weight, and I'm sure this was the case for you before this moment in time, that you go through these cycles and you gain weight, you lose weight, and you keep bouncing. But what was it this time? What was your next step once you'd made that decision?
Once I'd made the decision to do something about losing the weight, I'd virtually started to do a little exercise by just walking. Now, when I first started to walk, I'd probably been lucky to walk 100 meters without having to stop to get my breath back. Then all of a sudden we had wet weather at the beginning of the year, similar to what we're getting here in Queensland at the moment, and I decided, well, I can't go for a walk because it's raining. I can't go out and get wet. And then all of a sudden I sat down and started to think about it and went, no, I need to do something. So I actually went to a couple of gyms, tried them out, and found that Good Life at Caloundra were very helpful, very polite, very friendly, and they introduced me to Jay. Once I started with Jay, then that was it. It started in seriousness. That was it.
So Jay, let's bring you into this. So at this point, you meet Rob, who's, in his own words, is sort of morbidly obese.
Yeah.
What did you do? Where did you start? Like, what'd you do?
So basically, we sat down for an hour and had a good chat. And then after we had a good chat, I could see that Rob obviously wanted to do something. He wanted that change, but there was a few hurdles that held him back from obviously starting with me. I just got him on the treadmill just so we could have a bit longer of a chat. I had a bit of a gap after him, and we probably spoke on the treadmill for about half an hour as well. And in that time, I sort of asked him what his goals were and things like that, and where he was sort of thinking. I knew he probably still would be looking at 9 years. There wasn't that full commitment yet. He needed something to tip him over the edge. In which once we got that percentage out of him that he was going to give 100%, I think he actually said he'd give 120%, which he definitely has now, obviously. Yeah, from there it was pretty much history. We worked together for a whole year now, and yeah, almost 90 kilos down. So I couldn't let him leave the gym without seeing me consistently.
So that's interesting, Jay. So you talk a lot, obviously, there about this commitment, and like I said to Rob just now, that people bounce around from diets to non-diets, gaining weight, losing weight. Let's talk about this commitment, and is this a mental thing?
Very much so. Very much so. If you can't commit mentally to what you wish to do, that's why you bounce around with gaining weight, losing weight, gaining more weight. Then all of a sudden you get frustrated because the weight keeps fluctuating.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, it is a mental battle, and you need to virtually sit yourself down and talk yourself into believing that you can do it. To get the results. Like when I first met Jay, he asked me what my goal was, and I said, probably if I can get to around about 120 kilo, I'd be happy. He said, why stop there? And I looked at him and I went, well, I just can't get any lower than that. He said, what if I say I can get you to 99? And I laughed at him. Last time I was 99 kilo, would have been when I was about 14 years of age. So that's a damn long time ago, and it just worked out that you put your mind to it and commit yourself to doing what is required, because that's my catchphrase. I do what I've got to do. Simple as that. Now, if you're committed to do the hard yards because you let yourself go, then it's tough to start with, but as you get going, and it's not a diet. If ever you do a diet, you'll always put the weight back on. It becomes a lifestyle change. So if you do it the way that Jay and I have done it, or Jay has talked into doing it with a lifestyle change, it becomes a regular part of your life, and it just makes it easier to do it.
That's awesome. So Jay, just on that, there's loads of questions I've got off the back of that, but just to go back a minute, Jay, in your experience of working with people in this situation, what is the difference? What's the signals and signs of somebody who isn't quite ready to make that change in comparison to somebody who is?
Yeah, so probably about a year ago, I took notice that the people that were getting results were chasing something they actually wanted, as opposed to what they thought was realistic at the time. Majority of people, if you ask them what they actually want to achieve, they'll tell you what they think they can achieve, as opposed to what they actually want to achieve. So I formulated a system where I'd start asking them what their dream body was, or if they had one wish, what would they look like or be able to do, and that got them thinking a little deeper about something that they truly wanted as opposed to what they could actually achieve personally. And I think that difference in the mindset towards telling someone they can get something they didn't think they could have, as opposed to something they think they can actually get themselves, was the bridging gap. And it's just that self-belief at the end of the day. Most people are scared of that failure, and that's why they sort of start to yo-yo a lot. They're after that quick fix or the fast results, where at the end of the day it's strongly that lifestyle change and making those small steps every single week and changing that mindset at the same time.
And so what interests me, Jay, is that as opposed to seeing this situation, having this client come to you who's morbidly obese, instead of being worried about like how do I get him to this level that he wants, you were like, no, let's go lower. So you must have had that self-belief in you as well to be able to take a client to that place. How have you got to that place in your own life and mind?
Well, I probably personally went through a change a couple of years ago, and since then, obviously, self-development's a big part of my life now, and every day I'm doing something to progress that mindset. I think mindset is the key by far out of any of the three disciplines in any fitness-related goal. Out of nutrition and exercise, I would always put mindset first, because at the end of the day, if that's not there, the other two don't follow. And that's usually where that yo-yo comes from. So with Rob hitting 99, I remember Rob's exact words actually when he told me that he wanted to get to 120 and I told him 99. He said to me, I can't get there. And I said, why is that? And he said, because I'm big boned, which is pretty common. Most people think that. And then I explained to him, have you seen that are bigger than normal? And then he sort of had to think about it and realised that most skeletons are exactly the same size. Length may vary, but it's not really a valid excuse. And knowing Rob's height and things like that, I knew that 99 was something that he could definitely get to. He just had to flip that mindset, which he's obviously done. He's just done extraordinarily well. So, yeah.
And that's interesting, isn't it, to both of you, really, that whatever it is in our lives, that we don't pursue change because we convince ourselves and justify as to why we should remain in the situation that we're in, and we quite often blame everybody else or everything else, don't we? It's our parents, it's our partner, it's our kids, anything else rather than taking responsibility for our change. So Rob, how did you take responsibility for that lifestyle change, and what did that, when we talk about lifestyle change, and I'll ask Jay a bit more about this in a minute, but what did that mean? What did that difference of lifestyle mean for you?
The biggest problem I had was I lost my father 3 years prior to this, and that was virtually, I refused to cook for myself because I lived with him to keep him company, sort of thing, and he'd always do the cooking, so for me to cook, it was too much of a chore for me. So it was easier to go and buy takeaway food, which is what caused me to get to the size that I virtually was.
Sure.
Once I'd spoken with Jay and we had sorted out a nutrition plan and like a calorie intake and all that sort of thing. It was a matter of me then sitting down and working my head around to get to that point to continue it on. Now it's not something that's easy to do when you're used to just going and buying takeaway. KFC was my favourite. What made it worse was my doctor is next door to a KFC store, so every time I go and see the doctor, I'd get the smell and I'd go, I've got to have some, and it'd take me all my strength to stay away from it. But I didn't want to let Jay down by failing, and
that's interesting.
because of what he'd put into it.
Yeah.
So it was more or less concentrate on what I had to do and focus on what I had to do. And Jay, as I said, Jay taught me how to prepare my meals virtually. Don't just cook one meal at a time, because I live by myself. You cook a few meals up. You put them in the freezer or in the fridge. That way, all you do is you've got the meal there. You go bang, pull it out, microwave, away you go. Cook it, it's done. It just makes it so much easier when you do a major preparation rather than cooking each night, which becomes frustrating.
Sure. Yeah, I hear you, Rob. Totally hear you.
It's a matter of getting yourself to the mindset. Now, how to do that it's hard to explain. It's up to each individual. There's obviously certain points where you go through in your life that you've got to get a certain mindset to do something that you want to do. Now, if you can relate that back to something that you've already done, then you go, hey, well, that worked. Let's do it this way. So that's what I did. I found something that kept me motivated, and that was where I pushed from at that point and went, let's keep it going, and just kept focusing on that one positive, which kept me going.
And so it's interesting, Rob, in your situation, that not only did you have the sort of leverage of the fact that 9 years to go sort of thing, but also you mentioned about this commitment to Jay as well, because of what he'd invested into you. So it was this double sort of barrel motivation that sort of really, is really, it's a real good point that people need to keep themselves accountable to those around them. We often have in our head that we want to lose X or we want to do X, and we keep it here, but when we verbalize it, as in your situation, people help us to keep accountable to that.
That's it. That's exactly right.
That's cool.
If you can, as I said, I didn't want to fail for Jay because of what Jay had invested in me, sort of thing. Now Jay has been my trainer for free. Now, when he told me that he'd do it for free, I went, no, because that's taking money out, taking food out of your mouth. I'll do it. I'll pay half. He went, no, I want to do this for free, but if you don't meet any of my goals, then you pay me. I went, okay. So every time Jay set a goal for me, I just concentrated extra hard and went, I'm sorry, Jay, but I'm not going to pay you because I'm going to blow what you've given me out of the water and show you that I am committed to do what you want. So every goal that he set, I virtually smashed to pieces.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Good work. So Jay, let's just go back to that. We talk about that lifestyle change. So Jay, what in Rob's case, what were the things that needed to change, and what did you? Oh, have we lost Jay?
Oh, he's just dropped out.
Oh, Jay.
We've got a bit of a storm up here at the moment, and that's probably he may have. It's just starting to get fairly heavy here, so
we'll just try and add him back. So we'll keep talking until he comes back, Rob, if that's cool.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's fine.
So that lifestyle change, I think, was it one of you mentioned the 3 disciplines?
Yep. Lifestyle change becomes down to 1, commitment to what you wish to do. 2, organising your life so that it doesn't become a chore. And 3 is to make sure that you don't overdo it, because as soon as you try to over progress with it is when you lose interest.
Yeah.
So you need to stay focused, which is the main thing to keep it on track. If you lose your focus, you lose your motivation. You lose your will to keep going. So
absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm sure others watching are interested as much as I am. So you were big on takeaways, big on KFC. I love my Chinese, Rob.
Yep.
But so what? That's what your food looked like prior to this change. What did it look like after?
Um, Sorry, I missed that. Jay just sent a message. Just looking to see. He said he's run out of internet. Oh dear. Um, yeah, to go from a takeaway, which is an easy lifestyle, to preparing your food, it does make it difficult when you're not used to it.
Yeah.
Now,
What sort of
also,
food were you eating, Rob?
sorry, what was I cooking?
Yeah, what
Well,
sort of
I,
food?
I,
What was
was-
the change?
I virtually still eat my steak. I still eat my lamb. Um, I gave up sausages, which I usually enjoy. Sausages are just full of rubbish
Mm.
uh, and are a high calorie count. Um, yeah, it's the sausages I've gone away from.
Mm.
I still eat steak, chicken, turkey,
So
fish.
lots of protein.
Yeah, yeah. But the main thing that is the veggies and the fruit that I have now. Um, it's
Yeah,
I
that's it.
used to eat fruit and veggies, but not to the portion that I'm eating now.
Mm.
Fruit and veggies, you can virtually eat a plate full of those
Mm.
and not worry too much about calorie intake.
Yeah. So that's a big shift in the food that you were having to what you were eating, but obviously, as you say, you had that motivation and that goal to help you get to that place that you wanted to, that level of weight.
Yes, yes, exactly. And with Jay's um, push behind me and keep to help me
Mm.
keep me motivated, um, it it just sort of like kept me going
Yeah.
to keep on track. So
Mm.
it was more or less if I don't do it, as I said
Mm.
before, I'm letting Jay
Mm.
down. And Jay said, no, you're never letting me down. If you're letting anybody down, it'll be yourself.
Mm.
Um, and well, I was sick of failures anyway with different things that I'd
Yeah.
done throughout my life.
Sure.
So it was more or less now time to keep my focus, keep my
Yeah.
concentration, and do what's required.
That's awesome.
Jay sent me a message. He said to ask if you wish to continue tomorrow Arvo for this button.
Yeah, look, I'd love to bring Jay back into this
Yep.
because I'd love to just hear more from his side, how he helped you do what he did, and I think that'd be really helpful for our audience. So what I'll do is, if we end this now, Rob, and then we will reschedule that with Jay, and I will just edit these two videos together so the audience can
Yep.
see the whole sort of interview.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's not a problem
So
at all.
today, Jay's internet cut off, so sadly we lost him. So we thought we'd reconnect today just to bring a conclusion to this interview. It's been amazing to hear how Rob has lost the weight that he's been able to lose, and it was really cool that he shared about the motivation and how you have to want it. There are so many things in life that we kind of think that we want, but we don't kind of actually really go for them. And what really struck me thinking about Rob's interview afterwards last night is how much he wanted this. And if you really want something, you can get it. So with that in mind, I wanted to jump back to Jay. Jay, there are people watching this that might be doing those yo-yo fad diets, losing weight, gaining weight. I want you as a PT guy, personal trainer, with all the wisdom that you've applied to Rob. What are your top tips for somebody that really wants to kind of make a difference in with their weight? Enlighten us.
Yeah, so the main thing I use the example of lifestyle change. So most people will say usually about here, and you see my hands about here, and they'll go from one extreme to the other. So they might go from takeaway 10, 15 times a week to salads and veggies every single meal. Psychologically, I don't think they're ready for that yet. So all of my clients, and there may be other fitness professionals that don't agree with this too much, but all of my clients, we work on those little tiny changes every single week. Rob's diet now, a year later, still isn't perfect, but it's just about those small changes every week make that big difference in the long run. And it's, I believe it's more sustainable, and it teaches them to adapt very slowly rather than chucking them straight in the deep end, where people tend to cut themselves off, and then it's at the front of their mind all the time. I can't have this, I can't have that, so that's all they're thinking about, rather than just reducing and reducing and reducing and reducing to something they can sustain long term.
So it's that sort of gradual change with healthy eating, and as you disappeared yesterday, Rob and I were just chatting about how his food, how he's eating lots of takeaways, and and big. I think you're involved in that, but big fan of KFC. But how, like, after you dropped off, Rob was saying about how he was eating steak and chicken. So we have this thing in our mind that, look, the food that we should be eating to lose weight needs to taste or be rabbit food. Is this a misconception? Can you still enjoy your food, Jay?
Yeah, I mean, in today's society, it's pretty hard to. There's so many different ways, and they all work. And I think it's about being open-minded and sort of working with the situation that the individual has. Obviously, you've got things like paleo or vegan, and then there's high carb, high fat. There's so many different, we'll call them diets or nutritional changes nowadays. The reality is all of them get results. Every trainer uses something different, but there's that common thing across the board is it's moderated. So majority of that nutrition they're bringing in is whole foods and good nutrients, and that's what it's all about. Changing that balance of how much bad food you're having to how much good food you're having, and just slowly tipping the table towards the whole foods more.
So could you give an example, Jay, of what a meal of good food would look like? What would it consist of?
Well, I would say unlimited veggies.
Okay. Yep.
Probably the lowest thing that people consume now. I think something ridiculous like 94 or 96% of the world don't have enough each day, which is pretty staggering. But that would be the main thing that I'd always have, is as much veggies as you can fit on the plate. And if you can put more on another plate, go for that. Some sort of protein. Obviously, everyone's choices are a little bit different there, but as long as it's got some sort of protein, and then depending where the meal is, obviously some sort of carb as well.
Awesome. And another question that's just raised in my mind. There's lots of stuff about how you should eat how you should eat less more often. So you should have smaller meals and sort of snappy eating throughout the day. Is this right?
There's a lot of science sort of going towards each way. I always recommend 5 to 7 meals to my clients personally, but that's my personal experience, what's worked best. I look at the body like our bodies are very smart, and if you create that false memory where it thinks it's getting food every couple of hours, and then you take that food away, it's sort of, those people will generally be quite hungry, where if someone's eating no breakfast and having lunch, and then they have a late dinner, or they don't eat all day until dinner and stuff like that, there's that a really big confusion in the body. It's not sure where that next meal is coming from, and I would say probably 95% of people that come and see me nowadays, the problem isn't they eat too much, they eat too little irregularly.
Okay, well, that's interesting. So, well, that's where I used to be. I never ate breakfast. I'd eat smoko, then I wouldn't eat lunch, and then I'd have something on the way home from work, which would cover as my dinner as well, and that was it. So I was virtually eating 2 meals a day. Once again, they were the wrong foods as well. Whereas now I have breakfast, I have some nuts or grapes between lunch and smoko. So 9:30 I have smoko, which is usually classed as my lunch meal. Then I have another small nibbly between that and lunchtime. And lunchtime I usually just have some fruit. Then and then I have dinner. And I usually, when I come home, I usually have something like a shake or a protein shake or a blended smoothie, just with a heap of different fruits and that together and some veggies. And that's it. That's a daily consumption for me, sort of thing, which is around just under 1,800 calories.
It sounds like a lot, but it's not when you chunk it up. You chunk it down throughout the day. No, that's really cool. That's helpful to see that image. And just quickly as well, Jay, you say so we talk about lifestyle change, and we've covered the food side of things. Now, I'm obviously aware of the fact that you did an awesome job and provided Rob's personal training sessions for free, which is amazing. Now, obviously, people out there don't have the money for personal trainers or gyms. What can they do that doesn't necessarily have to be gym based to just change and start to lose that weight?
It's basically moving, just creating that consistency in moving. So Rob, when he first started, all he did was walk, and we done one face-to-face session a week, which was for half an hour, and we worked on some mobility things. Obviously, at 185 kilos or whatever Rob was then, he was having trouble just getting up and down off a chair, so we worked on some really basic stuff back then. And then once he's sort of gotten that routine and started moving more, now Rob does 4 or 5 boot camps a week, and he's playing indoor cricket and everything like that. So it's about starting where you are personally and just building that up each week. So just creating that consistency, I would say, is the most important thing, definitely.
And it doesn't need to sound, obviously, in some ways, Rob's case is an extreme case, and it doesn't need to sound as sort of overwhelming as, the food changes and the healthy activities. What's coming across to me is that if you have the attitude, if you have the mindset that this is something that I want to do, you make gradual shifts in your diet, doesn't have to be huge, and you get out walking every day, at the very basic, then you'll start to see changes in your weight. Is that correct?
Correct. So I think people chase that quick fix
absolutely,
rather than looking at it as a long-term thing. But in reality, if we look at Rob, he's lost nearly 90 kilos in 52 weeks. So it still is quite quick, I think, and
absolutely,
but it's sustained that whole time. So rather than trying to get those quick results in the first 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, if they're making those gradual changes, it's more consistent results, and I think that's more important. I've worked with a lot of people on 12-week challenges and things like that, and they'll have massive success in that 12 weeks, but they've cut themselves off from so many things that when they come out of that, they just they just collapse. So definitely about that sustainability.
No, that's really good. That's really cool. Awesome. So both of you, I'd like to wrap up in a minute and talk about how people can contact you and engage with you and learn from you and stuff. But I'd like one bit of advice, even if we've covered it before. What's that one thing that you could leave the audience to inspire them, or that one must do now to help them make those changes in their health and their lifestyle and their fitness? Rob, let's go with you first.
I think the biggest thing is nobody's actually happy with what they actually have at the moment. So it's a matter of finding something to make you happy, and then getting the mindset. That's going to be the toughest part. Getting the mindset to be able to get yourself started and keep going, to get the motivation going.
So it all starts with the mind.
It is. It's everyone's failure is in the mind. They tell themselves they can't do it, so therefore they're not willing to try. Or when they do try, as Jay says, they sabotage themselves because their mind is going, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. So they end up giving up.
Yeah. Rob, you sound like a little prodigy at Jay's. He's smiling like a wise father smiling as.
Well, that's it. It's rubbing off what Jay actually has installed into me. Is rubbing off, and it makes it easier for me to come back and well, Jay has taught me this, so it makes it easier to explain to people. Like, I'm not going to say that I'm an expert because I'm far from it. And I'm not going to say Jay's an expert, but he's got more chance of getting things correct because he's gone through the training for the physical training and all that type of thing. So, and for what it's done for me, he's a genius.
Awesome. So, Jay, with that, what is your one piece of advice for our viewers?
We might just wrap it up there. Just kidding. Probably touch on what Rob started off talking about is people aren't happy where they are now. And I think people forget where they are now is still a lot better off than where a lot of people are. And I think being grateful for what's happening today is very important. And at the same time, working towards that goal that is truly attend to that individual. So only that person will know how important that is. But it's got to be something that if you replayed that vision in your head of you achieving that, it would almost bring you to tears because it means that much to you. And that's what I believe everyone should be working towards every single day, but at the same time being grateful for where they are right now.
So that's awesome. That's a really cool point. So you're suggesting that people vision in their minds, get a mental image of where they want to be. I mean, obviously this applies for all areas of your life, but for the weight, you imagine the weight that you want to be. Imagine you being in situations socially at that weight and focus, just have a time every day just to focus on that, and that motivates you to reach that goal.
Definitely. It sort of plays that, we call it that, I could call it that highlight reel, I guess. So it almost becomes real. Arnold Schwarzenegger was probably the most famous for it, obviously with his Mr. Olympia, replaying things like that in his head. But by envisioning it, it makes it more real and it makes it achievable. And I think that's where people go wrong, is they chase what they think is realistic right now as opposed to what they truly want, like I was saying in our past interview. And I think that's where a lot of people come unstuck a little bit, because they don't really want what's realistic. They want what they can't have, or what they think they can't have. So by making that realistic now, it means a lot more to that person, and that's really what they should be chasing. Because as a lot of people are finding out nowadays, limitations don't really mean anything. They're usually self-inflicted, and by breaking down those barriers daily, people become a lot happier and a lot more successful in what they're trying to achieve. So
that's awesome. That's really cool. Thank you. So Jay, you are obviously a personal trainer in your local area, and you've done a great job with Rob. Do you provide a service? How can people find you online? Can they get more of your wisdom online? Can you help people at a distance, or is it just your locality?
No. So I've actually got an online gym launching Wednesday next week, the 2nd of April, which basically the most common excuses I've had in my time as a trainer have been cost, time, and I guess that ongoing cost of PT and things like that. So the reason that the main factors I created the online gym were because it was much more affordable to people, and it was accessible anywhere in the world. And I think the main component that most things need for people to be successful is that community. And by creating that online community, it just makes it easier for people to achieve their goals. And I created Gym in it for that simple reason, that I want to create the largest online health and fitness community, and just create that shift towards a healthier lifestyle in the future for everyone.
So what will that website comprise of? If I came to this website, how could you help me?
Yeah. So the foundation website that launches next week will have, it's got limitless meal plans and training plans, motivation. So it's user updated. So say, for instance, you got on there and you had a favorite recipe you wanted to share with the world, you can upload your recipe. People can like and comment on those as well, or dislike them if they don't like them. The other cool thing is we've got a members-only VIP group on Facebook, so everyone can communicate regularly and so on. It's just really about building that community. So pretty much everything anyone would ever need to achieve their health and fitness goals is on Gym in It.
So is the workouts? Is it
Yeah.
program?
So, yep, training plans and workouts. Global challenges, so you can challenge a friend overseas or in your local area for that little bit of competitive side. There's meal plans and recipes, motivation and articles, and then it's also got obviously the social features as well.
And so how does that align to my specific goals or any individual user's specific goals? Like lose weight, gain weight? Yeah.
So there's if we use that limitless database, I guess, if you want to lose weight, you can simply search weight loss programs, and then they'll come up with a large database of them, and you can pretty much, because it is user updated, it creates that wide variety, and it's not just specific to one trainer, like majority of sites are. So you can pretty much scroll through and find a program that's been written by someone similar to you, or someone that's worked with someone similar to your goals, and go from there.
That's absolutely amazing. Could you give us that website again, the exact URL?
Yeah, www.gymn.it.
gymn.it.
Yes, Gym in It.
Awesome. That's a great name, love it. And we'll also put the link at the bottom of this video as well, and we'll share it at that level. Rob, can people follow your journey?
Yes, I actually have a page on Facebook. It's called One Man's Journey to Lose 100 Kilos. It has a lot of before photos, it has a lot of motivational quotes. And because of work lately, I haven't been on a lot to update a lot, but hopefully I can get back on and start updating again within this next week. So, but yes, it's there on Facebook, called One Man's Journey to Lose 100 Kilos.
That's awesome. And people can ask you questions and ask about, gain your wisdom as to how you did what you've done.
Yes. They can send me a message, and I answer all messages, so it's not a problem at all.
Fantastic. Well, I'll also put that link at the bottom of this video as well, so people can just click on that too.
No worries.
Awesome. Well, look, guys, thank you so much. It's been an interview that's obviously been two nights, but thank you so much, both of you. It's a really inspiring story, and it's great to see what both Jay and you, Rob, have done. And it's a real inspiration for those that are looking for. It's not just about weight loss; it's about whatever goals you have for your life. This is what's kind of come out of this interview. So thank you so much.
Not a problem at all. My pleasure, and that's what this is all about. It's not about simply losing the weight. It's about helping people where you can and doing what you can to actually assist people. So that's why I'm doing this.
That's awesome. I feel like I could talk to you guys forever, but thank you so much. And thank you so much for watching this episode of Life Change TV. It's been really inspiring. Join us next time, where we will be interviewing lots more people who have undergone amazing life changes that you can learn from. See you then. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.